So an electric drill, basic electric drill is a little bit like your hair dryer shape. It's usually a main body that has the motor, and a lot of them have a gearbox in it. There's what's called a chuck on the end that holds the drill bit, and there's a handle. And nowadays, almost all these drills are battery powered instead of direct AC powered. So there's
Can you bring it up?
a place for the batteries. No, because what happened here is what happens all the time with exploded views, which is, I went off the page, right? I didn't plan ahead. Exploded views are really hard to plan ahead because you're going to take this thing and explode it. And you want to move things around so you can show everything that's going on inside. So,
I think it means like the whole screen is just low.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought you meant because of that problem. The whole screen is...
No, I think if you just adjust that top part to like look a little there you go.
Oh,
Money.
thank you for pointing that out. So you want to plan an exploded view either with an underlay that you put underneath your final drawing, or I'm just drawing real light to plan the underlay, or plan where everything's going to go. I'm establishing a perspective. These two lines I just put on there are defining the perspective. So like this corner, what I've drawn here very lightly is the right-hand half of the drill body. And so I've established the front top corner and the back top corner of that drill body. And now over here, I'm going to draw the left-hand side of that drill body. And I'm running off the paper again, so I've got a problem. That's why you need to do a lot of versions, or do it with pencil, or use an underlay. Actually, what I do a lot of times, if I have a problem like this, I'm running off the bottom, then I'll use this as an underlay and I'll move it up so I get more space down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I may need to move things closer together. I'm going to go ahead and move that left side over close together, but I don't want to go too close because I know I'm going to have to show a motor in between these two halves. Anybody getting scared of exploded views yet?
Yes.
Terribly frightened.
That's healthy, you know.
So we're going to have some transparency on the case, or is everything going to be covered? Because I can imagine if we want to fit everything in the small gap over there, it might be hectic.
You don't want to have it too close.
Yeah.
To the certain.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, Shoshima.
I was just saying, if the side of the case which is closer to the viewer, would it be better if we make that one a little transparent, or if we just
No.
Sounds like it'd be harder anyway.
There are some things you can do that I will show you in a second. Okay, so I'm really lightly laying this out, and now inside this housing, there's going to be a motor. This basically just a cylinder shape, and in front of that motor, there's some gears, and in D2L you will see photographs of a drill that I actually disassembled And with wires, I tried to hang the parts up in space like this, and you will see all these parts. So go ahead and, that's what I said, go back 2 weeks forward into the class on D2L and find those photographs and use those as reference for this preliminary exploded view. Now there's also, there's these gears, and then there's the chuck that holds the drill bit. And there's also a switch. So in the handle here, and I'm just very lightly laying this out right now, there's a place that holds the finger switch. And then below this, there's the actual battery box. I'm not going to ask you to explode the battery box. Just draw that as a solid chunk. But a lot of times, the battery box has a raised area that actually has the connectors in it. That makes the connections, and then inside the handle there'll be wires that go from the switch down to something that, a piece of plastic that holds the mating connectors that connect to that. So what I've done is I've very lightly laid this out, and I've got perspective checking lines here. So that's all in perspective. A problem that you are going to have is you're going to have trouble keeping track of, oh, I'm not just drawing one thing anymore. I'm drawing a whole bunch of things, and they all have to be in the same perspective. So mistakes and problems that you guys are going to have is you're going to lose these lines all going to the same vanishing point and keeping control of that on all of these parts. So I'm warning you. Get ready for that. Okay, so I've roughly laid this out. And now I'm just going to go and start doing my heavy lines spacing down. The same old stuff that we always do. So I want to intentionally create a problem so I can come back to the question I just got about what if something's covering something else up. What could I say is being covered up? Shoot.
It's like a reverse switch sometimes would be beneath.
Yeah, but I laid this out so well that it wouldn't be covered up.
It's too good.
So I'm just kind of make something up, like there's something hanging down from this gearbox that's part of the system that holds the gearbox into the housing, like some horizontal things, and now they're hidden by this left side housing, right? So no, I don't want to make it transparent. What I want to do is what's called a cutaway. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut away part of this housing. Now I'm going to show the material thickness. How thick is that plastic? And I just take away the piece that I cut out. And now I can show these things that I just kind of arbitrarily made up that fit into the housing to hold the the gearbox, and I'll show you on the other side how they fit into the housing. So this isn't the way drills really are, but. So imagine this is repeated on the other side. And then in this right side housing, there'll be some ribs that are there to catch these things. I'm going to go ahead and shade these a little bit so you understand that they're not just like a piece of wire or something, but they have a surface. Let's say that's also holding up the motor, and then this goes into a rib that's inside this housing and holds up the motor and holds up the gearbox. Comprende? Udon. So I'm going to put some shading in here. It's going to help make things a lot more clear. So the areas that are in shadow are really dark. I'm doing this with pencil. I'm going to let you choose whether you want to do it with pencil or what. So this is one of those rib things, and I can show that this goes into this with a line, okay. And this goes into this. I gotta move that up. I want this line facing down to be really dark because it's got to stand up away from everything that's behind it. Actually shade this a lot faster with markers, but I think it's going to be pretty scary for you the first time you do an exploded view, and you probably prefer pencil because you can erase it if you need to. Any other questions?
So we'll be designing our own drill, right?
Yeah, but for this practice exploded view, you can use the photograph of a real drill that's on D2L and just totally, copy that, use that as reference. This is just to get you used to the idea of an exploded view and how you do exploded views. So this is the connector that goes into this battery. This is the motor. It's got a little shaft coming out the end. It's just to show the thing of the motor. This is the actual sliding finger trigger. It's hollow. It's gonna be really dark inside. Now I want to show that these connector pieces of metal go into these receiving. This male connector goes into this female connector. So I use this dashed line here to show that this tab goes into this rib. And over here, I can show that this way. I can go down and over and down. So that's another reason you have to plan these drawings, because you have to make sure that you can show these relationships. So back to this motor. I'm not going to ask you to put the wires in and stuff on this one, although you will see examples online of other exploded. Like I did it online, I've got an exploded view of a hair dryer, and I've got all the wires and everything in there. Somebody say something?
No, not yet.
That's very good. That's a good thing to say.
So our first one can be done in all pencil if we.
Yeah, I decided to let you use pencil on this one.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you do say something like, "It's very good," I appreciate that and I like it, but you need to know it's not going to change your grade.
Breathtaking.
Is it alright? I mean, I know you mentioned that it's best for us to copy off the D2L, but if we came up with a design that could have that motor and that specific battery in it, is it okay to make our own design using those facilities to put it in?
Well, you're going to do that actually. Right after this
Oh.
practice exploded view, you're going to design your own drill, and the whole thing is going to be your design, and you can move the components around if you want to.
Do we have to have the same size components, like the battery and everything? Yeah.
No. But it does have to be kind of reasonable and realistic. It can be.
Can it be corded instead of battery?
No, I want you to have to deal with battery. It's harder than a corded one.
The battery could be like any shape though, right?
As long as the relative volume is similar to a real drill. I don't want you to do a fantasy drill with, a battery the size of an eraser and it's a powerful drill that'll last for 3 hours. No.
Well, I'm saying like if we want to do like a hand drill or something.
If what?
If like a hand drill where it's kind of like a cylindrical shape?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I have examples on D2L of one that's cylindrical shaped.
I have a little Milwaukee drill. When you plug it in, it actually like adds an extra finger hole almost.
Adds what?
When you plug the battery in, the battery is almost like an extension of the handle, so it's kind of nice. But without the battery, it's kind of a stubby handle.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's like the one that's in one of the ones that's in D2L. So this is the chuck, and the chuck has grip lines on it, so when you're tightening the chuck, your hand won't slip. That's what these are. And it's got this hole that the shaft from the gearbox goes in, which even holds the chuck on. And then here's the end of the chuck. Does anybody know why they call them a chuck? I have no idea. Why do they call this a chuck?
I think that like slaps a bit.
Yeah, that holds the bit. So when you do this first one, I think you should just plan on doing an underlay, and that you may need to do 2 or 3 underlays before you get everything laid out so that you can show it all and it's not running off the page like I almost did here. And you're not covering stuff up, although if you do cover stuff up, now you know you can do a cutaway. But what I want you to know about the cutaway, and it does talk about this on D2L, see how that line is intentionally irregular? It's waving up and down and around. It's not a clean straight line, and it's not a section line of the body.
Yeah.
Because if you make it a clean straight line or following the section line of the body, it can easily be misunderstood as part of the design. It's not part of the design. It's like I cut a bite out of the design so you could see what's behind it. So you want to make sure anybody looking at this knows that's a cutaway. It's not part of the design.
Why are you shading different ways on the battery? Aren't you usually supposed to shade the same direction on the shape?
Okay, well I shaded the same way here. We did it kind of fast because I worried about putting those up. As I shaded here. So the shading direction is the same here, 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 here. This one should be the same. All the surfaces facing the same way, I'm shading the same way. I think. Maybe I screwed up. So this is the same, this is the same, this is the same, this, this. So, what are you talking about?
But then your trigger and then the left side of the battery are shaded different ways.
No, it's diagonal. It's the same way I tell you to shade with markers.
From the corner closest to you.
I left a space right here to show that that's a big radius. And so it's catching the light. It's a big radius right there. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. So this is diagonal this way, this is diagonal this way, this is also diagonal that way.
How about the actual trigger that you pull?
Your trigger.
Oh,
That's what they're talking about.
okay. Mommy. Good catch. Okay, so that trigger, I want to show people that this trigger goes over, up, and over into this space. Over, up, and over into this space. So when you're drawing your exploded view, you need to make sure that that trigger is the same height as the space that it goes into, in perspective. And it would have been better if it was actually, I didn't have to go up, and over. It would be better if I could just go over, but I decided not to do that because that puts it on top of the motor.
So what would have happened if you just pulled it down to the left?
I could have pulled it down and gone up more, yeah.
Oh no, I mean just like actually to the left and up actually, so it was still in the same line. It was just farther over.
To the left of the motor.
Yeah, to the left of the motor.
Oh, okay, maybe I could have put it over here, but what I tried to do was show, see, the motor is actually going to have to go over and up also. So I tried to keep these in relationship with each other as to the way they are in the body. So I'm going to fine tune just a little bit. This is pretty close for a preliminary quick exploded view, but I'm going to add some darkness to some of these lines to get more contrast in the lines. This is probably one of the longest videos that Vince has made, and because most of those other ones were like between 5 and 7 minutes. I'll bet this is already like 13 or something like that.
26.
26, okay. Yeah, exploded views are time consuming, they're difficult, they're a pain in the neck, it's easy to make mistakes, takes way longer. Any questions?
Is there ever a situation where you do a cutaway of like the internal parts? Like if you did want to put that trigger up, would you cut away the battery or the motor rather?
Yes, there is. And if you look on D2L, the exploded view of the hair dryer, there's a fan. Actually, there should be a fan on this drill too. I forgot to put it in there. There's a fan behind the motor in the hair dryer, and I actually cut through the fan blade so that you could see the motor that's behind, because the motor's inside a tube. And I cut away part of that tube, and you'll see that when you go on D2L. Yeah, a lot of times you have to use cutaways to make space for you to see stuff. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. And that's about the level of finish I would like you to do on your first preliminary exploded view. Okay?
Got it.
Any last questions before I turn the lights on?